Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind a forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of June 15th, 2020 and a date of marriage of 2002. She has an at-home MLCer who is a low-energy wallower. So understand, he has been at home as a low-energy wallower for 4 years, for a little over. I mean, other than the whole marriage part, but at home the entire time since bomb drop. She says, he was in limerence with someone who was 15 years younger. Someone he worked with, and that started around, I think it was around 2017 that it started, she says. This was unrequited limerence, unless that has changed. So it's been a while, okay, since I've heard from you, but unless that's changed, this was unrequited limerence. This limerent object was kind of mortified and embarrassed and wanted to get away. It felt creepy, okay? I set a firm boundary in March of 2022. It's not appropriate for you to live here with me while you go to work there with her every day. So get a new job or choose to keep it and leave me. And he quit his job. Nearly 3 years later, there's no contact, but he's still in limerence. So he's still pining away for the same person, okay? But I think he knows the hope is gone. And it seems to me the last time, which was still 2 years ago, that she was gone and you'd set the bomb, you'd set this in March. And then I remember you saying that. And then again, later that year, it felt like he knew it then. But of course, knowing it and really knowing it after 2 years is different. So maybe he still had the hope, even though he knew it, but now the hope is also gone. But now this is a big change to this story. Okay. I also believe he was sleeping with his brother's wife. What is the was in that? When you say was, you didn't say has been sleeping with her. How long ago was that was? Okay. But they both deny it. Long story. His sister-in-law is a predator. And in her messed up world, I think she thought sex would help him take his mind off of the limerent object. I really, really appreciate and like how you reference that she's a predator, the sister-in-law, but also acknowledge that she's so messed up, she just thought she was helping him, which is a weird way to help, but I get it. And I like, you have the empathy and that compassion to, yeah, she's messed up, but I think that's how she thought she was helping somebody. That's really nice of you. Yeah. Her husband is also in a midlife crisis. So that's his brother. Great. Now that she can't come around anymore, by my demand, my husband is having to face things again. Good. I'm seeing what I believe is a transition to a withdrawal or depression stage. So liminality. So he's transitioning into liminality. And he's cycling. And I am just watching the shit show from a detached and curious standpoint. Which is interesting. That's good. I mean, when I read that the first time, I loved it. That you said you're watching the shit show from a detached and curious standpoint. It has to also be very difficult relative to those of you who are doing the same thing, using those same words and watching from the sidelines, but your MLCer isn't at home. But this MLCer is at home, has been at home the entire time. I know to stay quiet and soft-spoken. What other things should I expect to see from him? This is worse than replay. And if he's a low-energy wallower, replay is what high energies do. Low-energy wallowers just kind of wallow. They try replay, but it fails. They don't really get into that. So I can't exactly tell you. I can tell you some different things that might happen and might not. Has he shown anger in his depression? Because he could show more anger. He might start bursting out in more anger. How much has he done the blaming of you? If he is going into liminality, he's already been depressed. Liminality is where you lose, it's disintegration of the ego. It's just fragmentation of self. And so I always think of this as psychic dismemberment or metaphorical dismemberment. And then you have to put yourself back together. So what is he going to be going through? What are the traumas that are from his childhood or young adulthood even that are bubbling back in? What brought him into MLC? And I don't mean the triggers, I mean the traumas. There's the trigger, but what was the root? What are the traumas from his background, from his childhood? And those are the things that are coming up and why he's feeling this way. And he has to deal with those and he has to integrate them. And so when it comes to expectations from him, those vary. In the beginning, there's this script, and there's a script throughout, but the script is much tighter in the beginning, where they all say these same things. As they go through it, it becomes more specific to each one, so more unique. There are more variations. And so you might see some anger, but what is he dealing with? Because that's what's going to be bubbling up. Your job, how has he been? I'm pretty sure, I think in the last one I gave you referenced Emmy and Philip Aronson's book, Morning is Broken. And I showed it on the video. And you could even find that video again by searching in my channel stuff. And I think the video was called something about depression. Let me go look for a second. Because I just... So, and because you can go, I think one of the first questions you asked was so far back in a Facebook Live that I wasn't able to research back that much. But one of the other ones I was able to look at, and March of 2022, and I think I tried to put the name, Dealing with It. So if you go in to my channel on YouTube and put in Dealing with a Depressed Spouse in the search, you should come right up to that one, okay? And the next one was also depression, and I think the word fantasy was in there. Let me see. I'll tell you. And those, and I'm saying that because then you can at least look up, and I did put that book in there, I'm pretty sure. So, because the axis of yours is about depression. But there's this new thing with you talking about him and your sister-in-law, which is pretty freaky. I'm really glad you set that boundary. But what's coming next? So I really want you to understand depression and what's coming next. What's coming next through that? And if you can understand some of the roots, maybe that can inform some of what might be coming next. In addition, is he receiving professional help? Therapy or psychiatric help with medications, or best is both. Is he resistant to those? What is he willing to do? Because he's still at home. And what kind of power do you have to say, you know what, you need to do these things? And I'm not going to tell you, you need to get drugs or I'm kicking you out. But maybe it's been long enough. It's up to you. But you need to do this because I'm wearing thin. And I want you to feel better. But I want us to be functional and stable. And I think that would benefit you being better and healthy, mentally healthy. But I don't think I'm not able to do it on my own. You need help. And if you don't get it, and that might be a boundary you need to set, you have to determine what you are willing to do, what you can do. But to get him better, he needs help. And he might be completely resistant. I don't know. Maybe he needs to feel a loss. The different ones are different. Let me double check. Okay. Yeah. I mean, since this is a situation of depression, And infidelity is a symptom of depression. I call it depression's dirty secret because it's not always highlighted. Sometimes you'll see this big bulleted list, symptoms of depression. And maybe I think there was one book, it was like they had a list at the front of the book. And then many of those bulleted items then became the chapter titles or focus points. Infidelity was listed there. I don't know if I saw it anywhere else in the book. Depression's dirty secret, they listed there, but you know what? That's kind of a big one if you're married. It's a big one for the spouse, right? And shouldn't we want to know something about that? But no. So I don't want you to think, oh, because of the infidelity. No, depression is still the forefront of it. So understanding what it is, how to deal with depression, what he needs to do. Because maybe rather than saying, okay, they just have to come through this on their own, it's their journey. He needs some help in this journey, doesn't he? He needs help, and it's above your pay grade. And it might be above any human pay grade. In other words, a psychiatrist or a counselor might be able to help, but you benefit even more when you have talk therapy plus medications, okay, plus pharmaceuticals. So I would see what you can do in that avenue, okay? Sorry. I hope this is helpful, and I will see everybody in the next question.